As we all adapt to a COVID-19 world, BMI Tampa would like to thank our chapter sponsors for their ongoing support of manager education.
All right. Well, my name is Carrie Barnes. I'm the chapter administrator at Building Managers International, and we'd like to welcome you all to our webinar today on cleaning your communities to prevent the spread of COVID-19. I'd like to introduce Dryden Dennis of United Janitorial, and obviously he has a little bit of experience in cleaning. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to mute now, Dryden.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk about cleaning communities for COVID-19. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And is that coming up correctly? Okay. Good, so I'm Dryden with United Janitorial Solutions, and I'm here to talk about cleaning your communities to prevent the spread of COVID-19. I know there's a chat bar on here as well, so if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please type your questions in there. I'll keep an eye on it, and then I can answer those either throughout or at the end of the presentation as well. So to begin, it's important to kind of know or understand how the virus spreads. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on how it spreads. I know this changes very often, so keep an eye out on the news and what the doctors and professionals are saying about the spread of the virus. But from the research that's out there currently, there's really, I guess, two main ways that the virus is spreading, and that is through respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes or even talks to you, in close proximity without wearing a mask or without social distancing. And then also, really what we're going to focus on today, which is touching a surface or an object that has been contaminated by someone that is infected and that they've touched the same light switch or faucet or box or whatever it may be. And I have a quote over here from the CDC website kind of about the spread of it, but I highlighted one part in the middle because this was a question that I had before the webinar. And it's, although the virus can survive for a short period on some surfaces, it's unlikely to be spread from domestic or international mail products or packaging. So before the webinar, I was asked if you get a box in the mail or on your doorstep, if touching that box can then result in you getting contaminated. So as of now, the research changes daily, but it is a possibility, but it's very, very unlikely. And so the next slide is going to kind of talk about how long the virus can survive on surfaces and what objects, it survives on the longest and the shortest. So how long does COVID-19 live on surfaces? So the question that was asked was about cardboard, and right now the research has shown that in one day, so 24 hours, And this is across a couple of different sites. That is the CDC website, EPA website, and then a couple of universities that have published some research on this as well. And this is pretty much across the board what everyone's been saying. So the cardboard, about 1 day, stainless steel, 2 to 3 days, plastic, 2 to 3 days, wood, like chairs and desks, tables, things like that, 4 to 5 days. And then that's the same for paper. And then metal and glass are about 5 days a piece. Now, even though it says that it's contaminated up to 5 days, or 2 or 3 days, or even 1 day, that isn't to say that the virus is just as strong up to that point. So even though the virus is still found on it, the research that they were doing, they're testing it that long, and they up to 5 days, they found some virus still on that object. So that doesn't mean the whole object is still just as, I don't know the right words, like as powerful or as contaminated as it was from day one. So over time, the virus will continue to die. So 5 days out, it's less likely that it's on the surface, or that it's even on the surface in a high quantity. So with that being said, you want to focus when cleaning for coronavirus, you want to focus on the high touch areas, and this will differ depending on your property or your community, what areas are used the most often. So for example, we service a condominium, and they had their clubhouse, it's open now, but they had their clubhouse closed for a long time. So really the only high touch area that, FedEx, UPS was coming through on, and same with their members, was the elevators. So the plan that they developed, and they went out and saw what areas was their biggest highest touch point, and that was their elevators. So what they did, and what we helped them with, was putting disinfectant wipes in their lobby between the elevators. They had 3 elevators. That way, anyone that came to the elevator, they were able to take disinfectant wipe down the buttons before they used them, after they used them, and wiping down pretty much anything they touched. And then on top of that, the cleaning program was changed to where 3 times a day, the cleaner on site would go and disinfect the elevator buttons, the doors, everything from inside and out 3 times a day. So what I'd recommend is identifying in your community what's being touched the most, what visitors, where they're going through, where they're entering, where they're leaving, and really focus on those areas as opposed to the areas that are mainly closed off. So if your fitness area is closed off, or it's not as used as often, you don't have to clean it as often or disinfect it as often. You can just use your normal cleaning protocols that you have. But I would identify what is being used the most often and what's the highest risk in your community, whether that's the fitness area, the lobbies, or the elevators. And like I said, the frequency of the disinfecting really depends on how often it is used. The more it's used, the more people are touching it, then you want to be disinfecting it more often. Because after you disinfect something, say you disinfect a doorknob, and then a minute later someone comes in and opens that door and they are contaminated, then whoever else touched that door, is gonna possibly get contaminated as well, or at least have that virus on them. Because after you disinfect, it continues to kill, but once someone that's infected, or they call it once it gets soiled again, then you have to re-disinfect it. So you kind of have to stay on top of it. So another important thing is the cleaning versus disinfecting. And this is a big misconception because there is a difference. A lot of times people will go in there and disinfect something before they clean it. So cleaning is kind of removing the dirt and removing the soil from an object. So if you're wiping down a handrail on a stairwell, you want to clean it first. That removes the dirt, removes the soil, and then that it's clean and smooth and there's nothing on the rail. Then you want to disinfect it and let the disinfectant sit and kill the germs that are on it. Sometimes if you disinfect before you clean it, then some of those germs, some of the virus can hide, under the soil, under the dirt, and it just doesn't do as good of a job. Now, there's another thing, which is sanitizing. And sanitizing, I didn't put it in here because it doesn't really pertain to the presentation. But cleaning, removes the dirt. Disinfecting kills the viruses. Sanitizing kills the bacteria. And so be sure whenever you are cleaning or you are going to disinfect after your normal cleaning routine is done. So, for example, for an office space, you have a cleaning crew come in and clean and dust and wipe down countertops and do the trash. Once that is done, that's when you want to go in and disinfect. You want to disinfect after the cleaning's been done first.
Dryden.
So yes.
Okay, so you were can you give us an example of some products that say that they disinfect, but they really aren't? I mean, do you have any recommendations on the well, you're fixing to get to that, I guess, in your next slide.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the disinfectants, it's changing pretty quickly on what's approved and what's not approved. You know, whenever coronavirus first, I guess, came out or became an issue here, there's a lot of chemicals that have been approved for a lot of different things, but not a lot of chemicals have been approved for coronavirus because it was new, and they weren't spending money on getting it like EPA approved that it fights coronavirus. But now there's a lot of research on it, and there's a lot of chemicals that have since then been approved. And so I'm going to go, that's actually the next slide, I'm going to go to this link that you can go to, or anyone can go to, and research any household cleaning items that they have or that are able to find on the shelves right now, and see if it's been approved for coronavirus. And then not just approved, but how effective it is, how long you need to let the chemical sit to technically kill the virus. But this link here is what that does. So it's called the list in. So it's epa.gov/list in. And I'll go to that link.
And we can attach your PowerPoint. If anyone wants a copy of the PowerPoint, just email me at tampabmi@gmail.com. Again, that's tampabmi@gmail.com, and we will send you a copy of Dryden's PowerPoint.
Yeah, and I have a link. So this link that you can check on the chemicals to see if it's been approved. And then I provide another link, I think, on the next slide. And it's a website. It's pretty similar. It has the list of chemicals that they sell and also what's been approved and unapproved. And it kind of highlights the dwell times on them. So there's another link. So there's this link, then another link where you can purchase those chemicals as well. So once you're on this website, you see the list in disinfectants for use against COVID-19. So you want to click on this hyperlink right here, search by EPA registration number. Now, the registration number might be hard to find. I was looking for some on like Clorox wipes, for example, and it's kind of hard to find. So if you go to other search options below, then you have all these other ways you can search or find it. So, for example, say you have Clorox disinfectant wipes, and you want to see if it is effective. So you search it, and then you'll see, okay, Clorox commercial solutions. This is the one that came up, hydrogen peroxide cleaner disinfectant wipes. So it'll show the active ingredient as well, hydrogen peroxide, show the company, and then it'll show the contact time. And I'll get into this in a second, but that's how long you need to let this chemical sit before it kills. If you're curious, just on all Clorox products, say you have some Clorox, but you're not sure what it is, or if the normal disinfectant wipes you get aren't available, then you just type in Clorox, and it will show all the different chemicals that Clorox has, all the products they have, and these are all approved. And it'll also show, like I said, the active ingredients for them. And so you can kind of compare like what active ingredient and then the kill time to see how strong it is compared to other ones. And you'll notice, even though this is Clorox, they all have those different kill times. So Clorox bleach, that means it needs to sit for 10 minutes before it has the kill claim of killing the virus. Whereas this Clorox disinfecting wipes is 30 seconds. So just because it's Clorox doesn't mean it necessarily has the exact same killing power as another Clorox item. We also have Clorox has probably the most of any other companies right now that I've seen. They have 2 pages of approved disinfectants for COVID-19. And then similarly with like Lysol has quite a bit as well. So you can go through and see what Lysol product has. That includes laundry detergent, disinfecting wipes, sprays as well, or aerosols. And it kind of has all of them listed as well. And you can even ask your cleaning company, if you currently have a cleaning company that is cleaning your complex, your community. And a common cleaner that companies use, we use quite a bit of them as well, is called Diversi. And this is a really common chemical for commercial use. I believe you can buy it for domestic use as well. But you can see what chemicals are asked your company, what chemicals they're using, and then search it and kind of double check to make sure that the chemicals that they are using have been approved to fight COVID-19. And they have
Dryden, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We can't see that screen that you're on, that website. We can only see your PowerPoint, but I wanted to ask you, can you guys put together a list that maybe we could email out to the managers?
Yes,
Or is the list a little bit too long? What do you think?
Let me see if I can share this screen as well real quick.
Yeah, you just have to change the screen you're sharing.
Okay, let me see. Can you see it now?
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay, about that, yeah, let me go through it again. So you can see the list and disinfectant screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, so like I said, whenever you get to this page, you want to go to the search by EPA registration number right here. And then you want to click on this bar. EPA registration number is hard to find at times, so search other options. And you'll see this come down to this product name. And here's where you can type in Clorox if you have Clorox wipes or some sort of Clorox cleaning chemical. And this is the page, if you scroll down, that shows all of the chemicals. So you see the Clorox disinfecting wipes, which are the really common disinfecting wipes. And you'll see that that's a kill time of 30 seconds, and then Clorox bleach, and that has a kill time of 10 minutes, which means you need to let it sit for 10 minutes before it can be approved that it's killing the coronavirus. There's no chemical that kills on contact. All of them do have a kill time, or a dwell time, or contact time. They all have different names for it. So Clorox, like I said, has probably the most. There's 2 pages of approved disinfectants on here. And then another common one is Lysol. And it will show the same thing. Lysol is also an approved disinfectant. And like I mentioned, the diversity of the other company, I'll type it in here so you can see how it's spelled. This is one that a lot of commercial companies use. And so if you have a cleaning company currently, you can ask them what chemicals they're using and then double check to make sure that it has been approved through this website. And you can ask them any chemical that they're using. There's a lot out there. I believe MetaClean is one of them. So it's type in MetaClean. Sometimes it doesn't go on the company name. Okay, so this website doesn't have MetaClean as listed as a chemical. So if they're saying that they're using that, then it might not be. Or there's other ones too, like Febreze, if you're using Febreze. Like you can double check to see what's been approved or not approved. So this website's a great tool for that. It shows you the active chemical that's being used, the dwell time, and the company, as well as the product. So I'm going to go back to the presentation.
That's super helpful.
Yeah, it's a great website, and we use it even now whenever we're looking at new chemicals, or if a customer asks us what chemicals we're using, we can share that website with them as well and show what we're using. Or if you have any household items that you're curious about and you're not sure, you haven't seen anything about it, you can just go onto that website and it'll tell you exactly if it's approved or not approved.
And with this virus, we know it's ever changing, or we're still learning about it. So that list is probably being updated.
Yeah, and you need to check that constantly, because it is constantly being updated. Whenever we first started getting questions from people about the chemicals that we were using and researching chemicals that we were using, there wasn't a lot of data out on what had been approved and not approved, but now there has been. So a lot of cleaners have been approved that weren't beforehand, but they are now, because they've gone through that whole system of getting approved pretty much. So it changes constantly, so definitely keep an eye on it and just go through and search your chemicals that you have, because you might not need to go spend a ton of money on disinfectants. It might be something that you have currently that just got approved. So the dwell time, I wanted to dedicate a slide to this. This isn't all the chemicals that you saw that are approved by these 3 companies, but I wanted to just show an example that it's not necessarily the company that is more powerful chemicals than the other one. They all have chemicals that kill in 30 seconds or 10 minutes. I know Clorox looks like it is the winner right now, but a lot of the Clorox chemicals as well still have the 10 minutes. But I just want to highlight that, you spray something, say with the disinfectant wipes, or wipe it down with disinfectant wipe. It needs to stay wet and let that chemical soak in for 4 minutes, which is a pretty long time before you wipe it down or before you clean it off. Or if you spray a Lysol daily cleanser, you spray that on your countertop, it really needs to sit there for 10 minutes before you wipe it down, or let it air dry. That way it's killing it. There's no chemical that kills on contact. You do need to pay attention to the kill time a lot of times, and we're guilty of this at times too, spraying down a a door handle, then wiping it off real quick. It probably helps a little bit, but it's not going to fully disinfect that doorknob or that handle or anything. So all the chemicals will have a dwell time on the label. If not, like I said, go to that website that I provided and you can see what the kill time is for that. And I put the link here to a direct supply company where you can look at the products and even buy some of the products that they have listed. But it's kind of similar. They adapted like the list in document into their website with the chemicals they have for sale. But it's not necessarily company dependent on what's the most effective. It really depends on the active ingredient and I guess the concentration of that ingredient as well in the chemical or in the product. So this really kind of summarizes, and this is a printout, but summarizes like the 6 steps for cleaning for a community. And that is step 1, which I showed you, just check your product, make sure that it is EPA approved. Read the directions. A lot of the chemicals have different surfaces that you can and can't use them on. You don't want to hurt any of your surfaces and spend more money taking care of that. Pre-clean the surface, like I mentioned, get all the soil, get all the dirt and all the grime off before you disinfectant. Follow the contact time, that's also the kill time that we had mentioned, or the dwell time. And then wear gloves and wash your hands after using the product and after touching all the doorknobs and desks and handles and everything like that. And then also lock that, make sure that the chemical isn't loose, that way no kids or anyone accidentally ingests it or inhales it. I would also recommend getting an MSDF, which is a material safety data sheet. And every chemical, when you buy it, you can go on their website and print out the material safety data sheet and have that either in the janitor's closet or around. And that data sheet will pretty much tell you what to do if anyone inhales it or ingests it in any way. This is a printout. I recommend printing this out. That way your cleaning crew, your staff can see it and be aware of it, make sure that they're disinfecting properly. And also the CDC and EPA have a lot of great printouts on hand that you can have readily available for your members, for your residents, just printed out in different areas. That way everyone's always cognizant of the virus and making sure that's being cleaned properly. And that's it. If you have any questions for me, please email me. I put my email at the bottom. If you have any questions on chemicals or cleaning for coronavirus or different steps you can take, please reach out and definitely check out the website. And I'll put this link up here again. That way you can write it down if you want. I know this is going to be shared with you. But yeah, check the list out. Make sure your chemicals are approved and make sure to clean the surface before you disinfect it. And that's it. Thank you so much for having me on. And if you have any questions, please reach out.
Okay, well, we're going to see, does anybody, oh, yep, we have a question. I'm opening you guys up to speak. Unmute. I think you're going to have to unmute yourself on your end as well, guys. I see Chateau Towers has a question. I think. Okay, well then they muted themselves again. I guess not.
Okay. Well, if you receive any questions, I don't see any in the question and answer box here, but if you receive any questions or if they want to reach out to me for any questions, I'm available.
Yeah, you guys, I'll post this on our Facebook page, also on our LinkedIn page and our website. And I'll put a link to Dryden's information. I'll also put the website address that he's referenced here for the EPA to check those types of products as well, so that you guys can easily access that. And then again, if you want a copy of the presentation that he's put together for us today here on a PowerPoint, if you would just email me at tampabmi@gmail.com, I will get that over to you right away. So we want to thank you so much, Dryden, for presenting for us today. This is really helpful because you hear a lot of people talk about what's good and what's not good, but it's nice to hear somebody that actually specializes in the industry to be able to tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've enjoyed doing research while making this as well. I mean, it really helped doing more research than I had before. We use that document a lot, the list-in document, but learned a lot even more about cleaning and disinfecting just from putting this together. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and we do have some comments here. Tobin Brown said, great information, thank you. We have a question, what about alcohol-based products?
Yes, that's a great question, and I know a lot of alcohol-based products are effective, and they definitely are effective. Let me see if there are, let me go back to that slide if it'll let me click on this link.
Hey, Toad.
So you'll have to go.
So if I'll screen share this real quick. I know you can't see my screen. Can you see this screen now, the one I was back on?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so if you scroll down, this is just kind of on the normal page. But if you scroll down through these active ingredients, you'll see a lot of them. Like this is an acid-based chemical, an ammonium-based chemical. And if you go down here, you'll see this is an ethyl alcohol-based chemical, and this is another alcohol-based chemical. So there are quite a few on here that are also alcohol-based. Really anything bleach or alcohol-based, from what I've seen, the research I've done, is effective. Just make sure you're following the dilution recommendations on it as well. But yes, alcohol-based.
If you go up there to where you were searching, did you put in alcohol up top there?
I did not. No, this is just the first two chemicals through. So this is just however they have this organized, and you can do it alphabetical. And let me see if I can do it by active ingredient.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If you do active ingredient, of course, I think they're going to be. It's easier to look it up by the name of the product, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's interesting, though. You're saying leave it on the surface, let it dry on the surface. Yeah. I know a lot of people they continue to wipe it down, and it's basically you're picking it back up on the paper towel. And what you're saying is let it dry.
And that's one reason why I'm sure a lot of you have seen like the disinfectant fogging services that a lot of companies do. We provide it as well. So one really popular chemical for that is vinyl oxide. You can see my mouse; it's right here. And so vinyl oxide is a good solution. It is really non-toxic. Like you can spray it and fog a place without a mask on. So it's okay to be around the chemical without gloves and a mask and everything. From what they say, I definitely recommend still wearing them. But you'll see that their kill time is 10 minutes. So that's why when you go through, you'll fog all the high-touch surfaces and leave the building and let the building sit for 30 minutes to an hour. Make sure that the chemical is really sitting there without being disturbed, and that no one's walking in it for at least 10 minutes for the kill claim to take effect. And so that's really common for a lot of those chemicals that are fogged or the aerosols. It's common to have a higher kill claim than others. Like this one is 15 minutes. And so you just want to be sure that you're paying attention to that, because it's really a long time. Even 30 seconds to spray something and then it's out 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, all the way to 30 seconds is longer than people give time for.
Yeah, and think about how many people are wasting product doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you use less product and it's a lot more effective. Sometimes less is more. So here you'll see a lot of alcohol-based chemicals. And you'll see the companies like Gojo Industries, probably hand sanitizer, but this is their disinfecting wipes, the Purell disinfecting wipes, and that is a ethanol based. You'll see there's 20 pages of this. So a lot of these right here are all alcohol based and acid based products as well. So really all sorts of chemicals that have been approved, and they all use different active ingredients, but they are effective. They're just effective to different times, different contact times. Like for example, this one's 30 minutes. That's probably the longest one I've seen.
That's too long.
Yeah, that's just hydrogen peroxide, but yeah, 30 minutes is a long time to think of letting the surface just stay soaked in the chemical. And I believe the shortest time was like the Clorox disinfectant wipes, which were 30 seconds. I think 30 seconds is pretty much the industry standard for the quickest kill time. I don't think I've seen anything less than that.
Well, thank you again so much, Dryden, for presenting for us today. And again, I'll have his information posted on our social media and on our website, so you can reach out to him if you have any questions. And we want to thank everybody for joining our webinar today. And if you would like to find us on the internet, you can go to www.bmi, as in Building Managers International, tampa.org. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Dryden.